Romcom shows have without a doubt one of the highest hit and miss ratios out of all anime genres, because the spectrum reaches all the way from the, let me say it in a nice way, not so good titles, all the way to I'm too fucking invested to exist normally anymore. Now I guess we are all suckers for this type of entertainment, and if you aren't, I have absolutely no clue why you even clicked on this video, but hello and a big thanks to you anyways. So I want to talk a moment about this anime called Romantic Killer. With this one I had absolutely no clue of what I will get into, because I never read the manga for it and also don't know anyone who did. And this feeling of having no idea whatsoever continued for the first 2 episodes. I couldn't immediately figure out in which direction this anime wants to go, but the main character and the comedy aspects managed to get me hooked enough that I kept watching, even though I had some problems with it at first. But let's start with, well, the start. Anzu, our main character, is a cheerful nerdy girl who's slightly obsessed with chocolate and cats. If that's not a good starting point, then I don't know. The anime kicks off with Anzu wanting to try out her newly bought game, which turns out to be a shitty, cliche-looking otome game. And with that not being enough, out of her TV pops a magical egg yolk, which looks like Gudetama who just apparated out of Hogwarts. The name of this little fellow is Hididi, who is a wizard, just in case it wasn't obvious by the cylinder and cape. To get straight to the point, Hididi's job is to make Anzu find a romance partner, and in order to accomplish that, blackmails her by confiscating her 3 greatest desires in life: video games, chocolate, and her cat. With that being established, let's get rid of the part I initially had problems with. Didi twists Anzu's life in a way that events start happening similar to how they do in dating sims. And in that regard, the love interests Anzu encounters kinda feel superficial and brainwashed at first. That was the only really gripe I had with this show. And with that out of the way, let me talk about all the positive things that this anime has to offer. As you have probably already figured out, Romantic Killer is a reverse harem show. And that in itself is worthy of praise, because reverse harem anime are already pretty rare to begin with. And to be honest, this one is the best I've ever seen, which is not that hard because I've only seen 2 in total, but it's the better one of these 2. When it comes to the comedy parts of this show, this is where Romantic Killer shines the most in my opinion. The characters and the different personalities work together very well. Some of the scenarios really are able to brighten up your mood. Yes, comedy is pretty subjective, but I genuinely had a fun time with it. The next big positive is the character writing. I don't know if it is because I've watched a lot of other rom-com stuff, but whenever I start shows like these, I don't really expect the characters being written different than in any other show of that genre. But the characters here did surprise me with interesting backstories, insecurities, and all above, relatable interactions. And speaking of relatable, I think Anzu might be one of the most relatable main characters I've ever seen in a romance anime, which makes her not only extremely likable, but also brings a nice change of pace into the setting. At the end, you don't really know if it wants to be a genuine romance show with a more realistic feeling of how relationships actually develop, or if it's supposed to be a parody on harem romcom. My conclusion is, it is both, and that combination turns out to be working pretty well. With many other harem shows you can get slightly annoyed at certain parts, but with Romantic Killer I didn't even once feel that way. The show does take some parts from the very overused harem formula, but manages to get rid of most of the infuriating stuff. In the end, it really is just a funny, wholesome and solid anime, and to make the package whole, it doesn't look bad either. The art style fits the theme of the show quite well. Jokes and random moments are often accompanied by exaggerated visuals, which could be a potential turnoff for some of you, but they never feel overused. At this point, I also want to give credit to Studio America, because first, I never heard of them, and second, they did overall a really good job with this anime, despite having not the greatest track record so far. And last but not least, let's get to the simping part, which is voice acting. There are 2 reasons why I started watching Romantic Killer in the first place. The first one is simply because I'm basically breathing romcom anime, and the other one is Takahashi Rie being the voice of Anzu. But to be honest, the whole voice cast did a pretty damn good job here. Next to the main heroine, we also have Umehara Yuichiro, also known as Pretty Guy A from Kaguya-sama, and Goblin Slayer from Goblin Slayer, and a bunch of other stuff. Kajiwara Gakuto, which you may know from, and a bunch of other stuff. And Hane Natsuki, where I have to say, it's quite funny in retrospect seeing Tanjiro voicing a rich tsundere. Overall, all that I can say is that I really enjoyed this show. And since I didn't see anyone talking about it, I thought fine, I'll do it myself. With Romantic Killer being Netflix exclusive, it might have fallen under the radar of many seasonal watchers, and if you do like your romcom stuff, you should definitely give it a try. Even if reverse harem isn't something you'd normally watch, because you might miss out on one of your potential new favorites. And with that, let me know in the comments if you have already seen Romantic Killer and tell me your thoughts about this show. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to support me in the future. As always, I hope you're having a wonderful day and I will see you in the next video. Until then, peace.